guys, and welcome to this week's reading vlog where I'll be attempting to swap doom scrolling on my phone for reading my TBR for the next 7 days together with y'all. And so let's just hop right in. It's gonna be a fun one and I'm so excited to see how this is gonna bring my phone screen time down and rather the books on my TBR read up. So now for context, it is the beginning of a week, it is a Monday and I am starting earlier than I normally would, which is why there's like backlight and like all sorts of weird reflections. Please ignore. But that's because I have like a bunch of assignments that have come in from college, and generally around this time I like taking like a break and whatnot before I get to doing all of that, which means I'm like doom scrolling on my phone. But because we're swapping for this week's video, I'm gonna cut all of that out. I'm gonna start an audiobook of some sort and then start listening to it as I'm working, because I have a bunch of things especially needing to be submitted tomorrow. The whole backstory behind it being that there were a few assignments assigned right before Valentine's Day as well, but because of the whole hustle bustle of the weekend I just didn't get around to doing it, which means today we have to like actually scram and grind, which means there's no time anyway for phone doom scrolling, which is why it's a good thing if I directly just skip over, listen to my books and start working, which is what I'll be doing right now. Don't know what I want to start with, but I just know that I don't want to be picking up my phone whatsoever, which means it needs to be a really good one, so I'm like invested enough to continue seeing where the book goes, but at the same time working through my assignments to get them done because submissions tomorrow. There's quite a few. So I don't know if we're pulling an all-nighter today, first day of the challenge already, but I do know that I need a nice solid book to start off with, which is why I'm gonna go look at my TBR, see what I've got and start off basically. But that's basically the goal plan that we'll be doing for the rest of the week, kind of substituting my phone with books so that we can kind of see how much more reading I'd get in if I swapped and tried to completely cut out like scrolling and whatnot, but also how much more productive time gets added to my day in the sense of getting all of my other work done if I'm not on my phone. So I feel like it's a good experiment overall to try out as well, and that's what we're doing. And so let's just hop right in. I'll go pick up my first book and I'll update you all once I have, more progress in, more things to say, because at the moment I haven't started anything yet, but I'll see you all in a bit anyway once I do, and that's what we're doing this week. Hi guys, and welcome to the first update for this video, because it's only been a few hours later, but that just goes to say that if you put your phone down for a bit, you can definitely get through your TBR, because I'm already done with book 1. I started this evening. I took only like a couple breaks in the middle because I just wanted to get away from my laptop screen and stuff and working a lot. But apart from that, I literally finished this in like one sitting. I had no urge whatsoever to put it down, and so first book is complete. I still have a few more assignments to go, so later in the night when I come back to it, we'll pick up our next book. We'll go back at it, finish my assignments, read the next book, listen to it, whatever. Kind of get my way through my TBR, because this is so perfect, because I've put my phone down and it's like I'm getting my hours back in the day, which is so fun, especially being like productive and being, happy about it, being self-satisfied. But basically, to like catch you up now, the first book I ended up finishing for this video, the one just now I finished, it's called And Now Back to You, and I'll have the cover on screen, but if it looks similar to you, it's actually because it's the follow-up one from the first book in the Heartstring series. I think it's called First Time Caller, and it's so funny because I read that a little under a year ago at this point. I remember being such like in a different place in my life at that point, but then now coming back to this, it's just crazy how, certain things I kept like having flashbacks to with the first book and whatnot, and maybe I love the first one more than I think I did at the moment because I kept like remembering it. So maybe, who knows, we might do rereads and stuff, but this one truly I think it was perfect for like Valentine's season right now. I was in like the mood for romance and I picked this one up and it definitely served. But before anything, I do believe it comes out in a week or so from now, so around the time the video comes out, it'll come like a couple days after that. I'll have the publication date on screen because it was kindly sent to me by the publisher, so thank you so much for my arc. But basically, for a quick premise, we follow this character called Jackson, who you've been seeing in like book 1, and I was praying for him to like get a book and he did. And he's this sort of like type A person, not in the workaholic sense, but in the sense that he likes patterns and routines, and like just knowing that the kind of ideas and plans he's laid out for himself get followed through, because when he was younger he kind of lived with his mom, who was like very unstable in her sort of schedules, and then he had to grow up now, become an adult sooner than he should have, and kind of adopt his like little sisters away from the moms to take custody and stuff, just so he can give them a better life than he got. And because of everything else with his childhood, now those tendencies have been developed, because otherwise he would have been a completely different person, but that kind of shaped him into who he is at this point. He works at the radio station, kind of giving like weather news, and on the other hand we have another girl called Delilah. Again, we saw her, we saw the way she and Jackson were clashing in book 1. She also gives weather news, but she actually gives it over at the TV station, so right across from his radio station, and they have like a shared parking lot, and they keep running into each other, and there's all this chemistry chemistry and stuff, but she's his complete opposite because she's a sort of like reckless, spontaneous, like adventurous sort of person. She's a very whimsical character and she doesn't like to be tied down by like plans and stuff, so she'll do what she feels like and she'll do it in this like really cool way. And the thing is, they shouldn't work in retrospect because it's literally like opposites and stuff. But when you look at them together, for some reason, it works. Because every time they like bump into each other, there's chemistry and stuff. You don't see it obviously because at the beginning, there's like a bit of animosity. She keeps taking like the parking spot closer to his. So by default, he still has to park next to her. Even though, you know, there's like a bunch of other spots available, he still does it and whatnot. You know, kind of leaving sticky notes on her windshield and stuff. And it's so funny to me because they have this almost like enemies, rivals sort of face facade developed on the outside, but then one day as his radio station and her news station kind of strikes up this deal to cover this like upcoming snowstorm that's going to be the talk of the town for the next like few days and whatnot, they have to collaborate on working together to report the news, and they're being sent away together on this like snowside trip and whatnot away from Baltimore where it's set. And you know, as they're going away doing all of this together, they're spending more time together, close proximity, they kind of develop this like easy like friendship and sort of thing that goes off into lovers from there. And all I'll say is this was so sweet to me because after that they're trying to figure out if they'll make it in the real world once they get back from the trip and everything else. And I feel like it was perfect timing with the release done by the author because it's perfect for like Valentine's vibes because it was literally just Valentine's weekend a couple days ago, but also because there was like the snowstorm and stuff, and it's just cold enough outside for me to actually enjoy the book while relating to it. Because imagine reading this in the summer, that wouldn't be fun. But this, the way it felt, not just the atmospheric vibes but the way they felt, it was very like golden retriever energy from him, and I loved her as a character, how funny it was. But also we have this thing going on wherein her boss Keith is actually trying to like sabotage her job to make her seem less of a journalist, so he like makes her dress up in like weird costumes and do like weird screenings and stuff just to like undermine her and whatnot. So at the beginning she's in this like total costume, and there's all these other things that kind of keep happening throughout to the point where now they make this like pact wherein she'll help him with his anxiety and he'll help her seem more of like a credible journalist, and just the kind of things that go on. Okay, firstly the pact that they made, the little like original sticky note that they made, he keeps it, and then there's all these other things that go on. And if you want a good representation of this book, if y'all have watched the Opalite music video by Taylor Swift that just came out, not necessarily that plot line, but the way those vibes come across as very much feels very reminiscent of this book as well, because it gave me like 2000s romance movie vibes. It gave me just everything it had to. There was enough like romance and like friendship mixed in with like the drama with the boss and them trying to figure out how they're gonna undermine him, especially now towards the end bits, and all the other cast of characters that we've been seeing in this like cute little town. And all I'll say is I had the best time ever. I really just want to go to Baltimore now and have a cronut, but I cannot because I'm in college. So here we are. Overall, it was so fun. Jackson gave me like golden retriever energy. They were like friends before anything, and the way it was established was so sweet because they were friends first and then they transitioned into lovers, and the way that one was done too. Honestly, one of the best tropes ever. Just reminded of that again because I had the best time. His girls, so his like sisters, the younger ones, they were so funny the way they treat him, and he was just like this big cuddly teddy bear. He wore glasses and stuff, being really sweet about it. The first time they like knock into each other, he has to like duct tape it, and so they're like lopsided and all these other cute things. And all I'll say is if you want something quick to get through with, but that also gives you like these like fun, bubbly, champagne, almost romance vibes, but also like a movie that you actually enjoy watching, this is the book for you. It's perfect. I had the best time ever, and I don't know what I want to rate it at the moment. I'm thinking like 4 stars because these days I haven't necessarily been enjoying romance books anymore because of the kind of stuff that's going on in the world. I can't immerse myself in it, but the way this was done, it's like the kind of perfect read that I just needed in the moment to feel lighthearted again, and I feel like it was really fun. I loved going along with the characters, especially the whole like love confession at the very end. Had the best time ever, and yeah, I can't wait to read more of this author's work and wait for the next book that comes out. I'm hoping it's Maggie's because the kind of tension we were getting with her and a different character, who knows, it might be great. Until then, this cover is amazing, the book is amazing. I'm obsessed with like Jackson and Delilah and their sweet little romance and everything else that comes with it, and I finished it. So that goes to say that I was able to finish listening to a whole book and finishing 2 different assignments as I was putting my phone down this evening and just concentrating on locking in, which I hope we continue that spirit over the rest of the week because it was really fun. Now that we are done with this book, I think I'll go probably like take a dinner break at the moment and then come back in later with the rest of the assignments and a new audiobook picked up. So we shall see. But the thing is, tomorrow I do have to go to college, and like I've said repeatedly on the channel, the commute is about 2 to 3 hours. It really depends on traffic, and so hopefully next time I come by tomorrow and whatnot, I will have like another book done, considering the fact that I'll be working on assignments tonight and then listening for like 2 to 3 hours tomorrow as I'm commuting, and so we shall see. But so far we're off to a great start, already having a good time, and this was basically all I needed, so I'm happy about it. I'm gonna go now, and I'll see you guys in a bit once we have our next read done, which will hopefully be just as good or maybe even better, who knows. But good vibes are set for this video. I'm so happy, and here we are. Hi guys, and welcome to the next update. Because it has been a few days, it did take me a little bit to get through our next book, and I've been really busy, which is why I haven't come in to speak. But basically, now it's Thursday. Ignore the fact that my shirt says Sunday. It's because the next couple days from college I have them off, so in my head it's officially weekend mode, which is why the Sunday shirt is back out. But basically, to catch you up, since the last time I came in and spoke, I finished listening to one full audiobook. I have 3 books nearly done, but I did not go ahead and finish them out because I wanted to come give you a quick update about like the first book that I ended up finishing here, and then I'll get back to finishing the rest of them. So throughout the span of this evening, at least, you'll be getting a bunch of like live updates from me as I go ahead and finish them out, because there's a bunch I've gotten to in the time span of the last couple of days, simply because I've been commuting quite a bit for college. I had a few assignments to get to, and so lots of listening has been happening overall. Again, they've all been the sort of assignments wherein in animation there's like stuff called like rotoscopy and stuff, wherein you basically trace like the frames of movement that are too complicated for you to actually replicate in animation. So it's like a real human video and you start tracing over it, and because it's mostly tedious work, very time consuming but very mindless sometimes, it's really fun to listen to stuff in the background, and that's how I've gotten through quite a bunch. But now to back you up, basically, because I still haven't spoken about the first book I ended up finishing, I did finish one. It's called Judge Stone, and we'll speak about that first before we get into the rest of them, because there is quite a bit. So now this one, for context, it was actually sent to me. Thank you so much to the publishers, because I got an arc of it, and we all know it's no secret on the channel that the show How to Get Away with Murder, it's been my favorite for like so long now, that and Manifest. And so it's so incredible to me that I got a book wherein we have Viola Davis, who's co-written it, and she was narrating it, because she's like my, I think, first or second favorite actress. It really just depends on a good day, but it's basically between her and Meryl Streep, so I feel like it's a great combination overall. And so I was freaking out when I found out that I first got it, which is why I knew I instantly had to read it, kind of get through with it, see what it's about, even though it's not out yet. So before anything, thank you to the publishers. I'll have the publication date on screen in case anyone's interested to go check it out, because again, this is my Super Bowl to me. The fact that I'm listening to a book narrated by the Annalise Keating, the Viola Davis in the flesh, I'm sorry, I don't know how to comprehend that. That's so insane to me. So here we are. But basically this one, I was happy, excited to get into it, and I have been a little let down. But first I'll give you a quick premise, and then we can speak about my opinions. This one follows basically the character Judge Mhairi Stone. She's like a really influential figure in her little small town. I think it's in Alabama, but I don't remember which one specifically, because it's been a couple days since I finished it. And while I did finish it in the span of a day, I did not have the best time. Essentially, she does this thing wherein she tries to balance living on her farmland, home life and whatnot, with the fact that she's a judge, so she needs to like preside over court cases and stuff. But because it's the South, and because some of the opinions there are very like mixed and whatnot, there's this really controversial case that comes in, and suddenly she's the one who's made to preside over it, and it's just before re-election campaign. So now she needs to figure out what kind of decision she's gonna make, what effect it's gonna have on her like career afterward and stuff, whose life is she gonna save behind it all, because there's like 2 choices she can make, and both are like very much like balancing on the scale, wherein if she tips in one direction, the others are going to be mad, and so forth and whatnot. And it's basically like a witch hunt, but in modern era, because there's like a bunch of things going on. There's right and wrong, and then there's all these things. I cannot tell you what it's about, because that's basically ruining the plot. When you pick it up, it's basically like a huge part of the story, which is why I don't want to speak about it. But there's this one decision she has to make that kind of holds everyone's like scrutiny and I guess judgment against her, and obviously lives on the line. And so here we are, and I feel like this book more or less was about the social spectacle and the social phenomenon of trying to like decide between like a controversial opinion. So you get to see like all sides of the story and the kind of public outcry and public opinion that comes with it, rather than being a thriller. It wasn't even like a domestic drama. It was just like very much just fiction, kind of speaking about certain aspects and certain choices that are to be made, rather than being a mystery book. And in my head, I thought that, again, this is my problem and my fault, that it would be like a thriller mystery or something like that, because in my head, Viola Davis. She plays Annalise Keating in that show. She's like a huge high-powered lawyer and stuff, and she solves all these cases, and it's all these like high-end criminal sort of cases. This one's very much different from the show if you think about it, because I went in with the wrong expectations, and because I expected like fast, high stakes, things happening really quick, I kind of got let down on that end, because I feel like, since I was expecting something else and I started reading, it was quite slow to get through, and it feels like not a lot was happening. You just got to see all sides of the story and what the decision is finally made at the end, which it does make sense. I was happy with the way it turned out and whatnot, the entire book, especially like the very end and stuff. But I'll be so for real, the process of getting there, the means and kind of the whole story there, it was a good one, but it just wasn't for me. And when I feel like it's like a character driven book, you need to be connected to the characters, and while I was connected to Judge Stone specifically, the others, I feel like the way it's done, again, it explores society as a whole, and that's just not something I'm interested in at the moment and whatnot. It wasn't quick enough for me. It didn't have like enough things going on. I feel like the plot twists were kind of scattered, and there weren't enough hooks to kind of hold my attention, which is why even if it's like a literary fiction book, it needs to be interesting enough for me to enjoy, and that's why I'm going to give this one 2.5 stars. It breaks my heart, do not get me wrong. This is like probably one of my most anticipated reads of the year, knowing the fact that it was sent to me and it's by Viola Davis and stuff, and she's narrating, obviously James Patterson as well. But regardless of the fact, I'm just being honest here, it wasn't my cup of tea specifically, and it's not the end of the world. You can definitely go pick it up. I've seen so many amazing reviews already from like other ARC readers, which is why maybe it'll be for you and whatnot. That's the whole beauty of reading, it's subjective. But because it wasn't for me, I'm a little sad that that's the way it turned out. But here we are anyway. I'm done with it now. And moving on from this specifically, I ended up starting 3 more books, 2 on audiobook, 1 on Kindle, because I need something before bed at night. And so I have about 20 minutes of listening on both of the audiobooks, so 20 here, 20 here, and then the last one, the Kindle book, there's about 1.5 hours or so of reading as per the timer. So I think right now what I want to do, I just want to switch over to audio format for all and kind of breeze through them as I work on my assignments, and then maybe update y'all as I go throughout the rest of the evening doing that. But again, I'll be done in no time whatsoever, because I've been doing a lot of listening over the past couple of days, just haven't had the time to come in and update because of how hectic it's been. But now that I have, let's finally lock in and get through some more books and put away the phone and kind of work through the TBR and whatnot, because so far I'm having a good time regardless, especially with the next books that I've picked up. So we'll see how that goes. I'll go continue listening, and once I'm done with my next one, update you all. But that's the progress right now, and I'm gonna go get back to it. Bye. Hi guys, so it's not much later and I finished the first book out of our lineup. This one's called Tuesdays with Morrie. And before anything, let me preface by saying I did not know that this was like non-fiction. I went into it fully thinking that it was fiction. Every single like review I've seen of it online and whatnot somehow made me, believe that it was fiction. It's not. So like as soon as I began it, I was questioning the fact that, I was reading a non-fiction book, but this definitely does not read like one, because in my head, non-fiction books are like history textbooks, really boring. And this one is more like a story, and like all books have stories obviously, but this one specifically, it was captivating enough that it did not feel like non-fiction at points. So I'm happy I read it anyway. Basically, we follow the author of this book, Mitch, as he goes ahead and kind of rekindles his relationship with his like old dying college professor. And so every like Tuesday he goes back to meet that professor and kind of just speak on life and all these like various topics and stuff, as he's kind of watching his professor's like condition deteriorate over the months and whatnot. So they kind of start up this project between themselves, wherein he asks him questions about life and like all these other topics. So there's like love and friendship and the kind of world situation and whatnot. And so you kind of get the perspective of a dying man essentially, who's like giving you his lessons on life from what he's understood, and it's kind of in this like self-help way, but also the author's kind of saying the story of that man's life, and it's really interesting the way it's written. But personally, I'll just be so for real, because it is a non-fiction book and because I did not realize it, I went in thinking it was a profound story. And don't get me wrong, it's definitely got lessons you can use in your daily life. It's definitely good stuff to be reminded of occasionally from time to time, but in my head it still feels like it could be condensed into like email length and whatnot. And I'm not trying to be rude here, because I did have a good time, don't get me wrong. It's just that this felt very much like those cheesy like like Hallmark cards and stuff. Am I making sense? Wherein you'd get like at Christmas time and all these like cheesy sayings again that are said that you gotta live your life the way you want to live it, and this just feels like a repetition of that over all of those pages. The way it's done, obviously it's done really well, but I don't know, it just feels like it's repeating all of the stuff we already know, which is basically the point of self-help fiction. But you know, here we are anyway. I did go ahead and finish it, and I think I'm gonna give this like 3.5 stars, because there are good sayings in this, do not get me wrong. It's just, you know, maybe it wasn't for me again at the moment. I should have definitely done my research going in, but it was a good story regardless, and it's definitely some things that you should be reminded of again time to time, because it's good stuff to remember, and it was a good book overall. Like, some of the lessons are really impactful, and maybe one day I'd like to go back to it and read it just to like refresh on it, because some things that he says definitely do make sense, and you know, make you start considering things in a whole new perspective, and that's always fun when that happens. So I read this, I'm done with it now. I'm gonna go get to the next book in the lineup that was nearly done. That is also 20 minutes left on the audiobook, so I'm gonna go finish that, come update you all in a little bit, and then we'll go continue with our reading spree. But basically, so far things are going good. I have my laptop here, I've been working, and you know, I'll just go get back to it now. So that's what I'm doing right now. That's what I'll be doing in a little bit as well, and that's it now. Bye. Hi guys, so it's now the next day. It's Friday, and technically I should have come in yesterday because we had like 3 different books we were going to be able to get to. One we did yesterday itself, but then after that I ended up going and having dinner because it was getting late and whatnot. So that happened, and then right after, once I finally got back upstairs after having a very extended break, I finished the last 20 minutes left on the second book I was supposed to come speak to you about, but then I never came in because it was too late in the night and stuff, and so I figured might as well just update today. So at this point I have gone ahead and finished that book. I did continue the third one, nearly done with that as well, and I started one more. So there's like a lot to speak about it and whatnot, because I was up till like 5 again, which means we got through quite a bit because I wasn't on my phone, I was actually working, which makes me feel so proud. But now to catch you up, the book I ended up finishing basically is called Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney, and for context, I've actually read 2 of her other books. Every time she comes out with a new release, basically in the last couple of years I've read it, so I figured this year I want to go back to the roots. I want to read this one specifically because I feel like this is the most like popular thriller I've been seeing on BookTok ever since I like got on it and stuff, and so it's very much an OG. Everyone says it's like the most incredible like thriller ever, the twist is amazing, whatnot, so I figured might as well get to it because the concept kind of makes you want to read it during like winter time and stuff. And so I'm trying to get through like my atmospheric seasonal books when I can and when it suits the weather outside, so I have a better time reading, which is why I picked this one up, and also because I was in like a thriller mood. Basically, we follow this married couple, Adam and Amelia. They have like issues in their marriage at the moment, so they end up getting this like gift to go on like a trip and just take the weekend away to kind of use it to either make or break their marriage, but mostly try to work on fixing it. And so they end up going away up to Scotland in this like abandoned chapel, kind of spending their weekend there, except everything is not as it seems, because number one, Adam has like facial blindness, so he cannot like recognize any face, which means anyone who comes up to him, he cannot like recognize who they are. He can't even recognize his own wife Amelia, and so that's number one. Number two, both of them are hiding secrets, and one of them didn't actually want to come on this trip, and you know, there's other things involved. And number three, there's like an external like third person who's actually spying on them from the outside of the chapel, who is very much not looking for the goodness of their marriage and stuff, who has got, you know, nefarious intentions and stuff. And so you basically have to navigate what goes on next with the three of them, see what happens, what secrets come to light, and it's really interesting. But I'll be so for real, I know this is very hyped, and maybe because of that, maybe because my expectations were higher, this sort of let me down. But to be fair, both of the other books I've read by Alice Feeney, I've given them like a 3.5 star rating as well, so maybe that's just the way I feel about her books, because this one specifically is like a locked room thriller. They're very specifically in that chapel area all the time over there. It's like snowing outside, so they're kind of stuck over there and stuff, and it's very much like a cold atmospheric thriller, which is fun to read about. But I feel like these days I've read too many atmospheric locked room thriller sort of situations wherein I feel like the same formula is repeated over and over again, to the point where it needs to have something changed up to like hold my attention and be interesting for me, and this one didn't, which is why in the first place I wasn't even like connected to the story. I found it a little boring, especially the whole build up, because it was extremely slow paced. It felt like not a lot was happening, and then finally once we got to the end, the twist wasn't like as incredible as people hype it up to me. In my opinion, I've read again better thriller books with better twists and stuff, and so my jaw definitely wasn't dropped, but at the same time time, because I was not connected to the story, I couldn't care less either. So I was just happy to be done with it by the end of it. But one good thing I will say has come out of it is the fact that the author has like beautiful writing. Every time I read her books, I get reminded of the fact, and it's really fun to go back to her books specifically for it. It's just the actual thrill and the content of it. Maybe it's just overhyped and whatnot, because for me, it did not hit, especially the ending twist and stuff. It wasn't the best one I've ever read, but I'm happy I still got to it anyway, so now I know what everyone's talking about, and I'm gonna give this like 3.5 stars, whatever I figure out when I'm editing, because at the moment I genuinely couldn't care less. This morning I woke up, I forgot that I even finished the book, so I didn't go and update my Goodreads until much later, but here we are anyway. This is done at the moment. I did go back to the next book that I was supposed to be reading and whatnot. It was a Kindle book originally, but then it was so boring to me that I wanted to switch over to audio, and that's what I ended up doing. And then, got through quite a decent chunk of that before I figured that maybe I should not finish it yesterday night itself, because I didn't update about this one specifically to begin with, which is why I started yet another book. So on audio, managed to listen to quite a bit of it as well. And so at this point, I'm still in the middle of like 2 books that I need to come finish off and speak to you about, and that's definitely happening today, because I'm not sure how much reading I'll be able to get done tomorrow, since it's like the weekend. I need to do other things, but here we are anyway. I'll go figure it out and come update you all next once I have the next one completed, because at this point I have a good feeling that I'll be able to get through both of them, and maybe like a shorter one, a third one today. I don't know, we'll have to see, but those are the goals. I still have a lot of work to get through in the form of assignments and stuff, so I'm gonna go work on that, and I'll see you guys hopefully in a bit once I have more progress updates to give you on the books. But it'll be after quite some time now, because I don't have like lots of progress on the next books, which is why let me go get through them, and then I'll come you guys once I have things to say. Hi guys, so it's update time, because I've gone ahead and finished the next book. It was the romance that I mentioned. I did start this on Kindle, managed to read like 50% before I realized that it's not for me on Kindle. I'm losing attention. Every time I like pick it up, I instantly want to put it down and go back on my phone. And so, to combat that problem, because this week we're supposed to skip doom scrolling completely, I ended up swapping over to the audiobook, hoping that would help. It did not, because I still did not enjoy my experience or whatnot, but I'm still done with it at this point, so I think I'll just count that as my own personal win. And so the next book that I'm supposed to be speaking about now is called Cover Story, and the thing is, the only reason I picked this up is because the author of this, I've seen Haley Fam, who's like my favorite booktuber ever, kind of read her entire backlist, gush about it, which is the whole reason I kind of wanted to see why she's raving about it, because listen, anytime she gives a book 5 stars, you best believe I'll be running to it. And so that was the reason I picked it up. A little quick backstory and whatnot. If you all remember the readathon I did, the 24-hour reading challenge from like a month ago or something like that, this was one of the initial picks I was gonna choose for that challenge specifically, but then in the end I ended up not going with it because I wasn't in the mood for it, and I'm so grateful that happened, because honestly if I was to do it, I would have failed that challenge even worse than I already did, because it was so boring. It did not hold my attention whatsoever. And here we are. Basically, for a quick premise, we follow this girl called Belle, and she's working like the Manchester office of this like local newspaper. So she's working as a journalist, and on the side she's got this like podcast she runs. So like people kind of view her as almost like this keystone of the journaling community. Does that make sense? The journalist community. And anytime there's like a scoop or whatever, she'll be sent like insider tips and stuff so she can get on her next big case. And on the other hand, we have the guy Connor. Now he works in finance, but the thing is, he's a 30-something-year-old. He's in the dumps of life because his relationship, the one at the moment at least, is like completely failing. His long-term girlfriend is not really happy with the kind of situation they are in, and he's figuring out that he doesn't actually like his job. So he ends up deciding to like swap over to becoming a journalist, because that's something he sees interest in and whatnot. And because now he's leaving his high-powered job to start over again while he's in his 30s, he ends up kind of taking the job of working as an intern in Belle's office. And the only thing is, the two of them, they're like complete opposites, so they end up like butting heads. And she's just like okay with it because he's there only 3 months. He'll be gone by the end of it because it's like temporary, but otherwise things are not really working out between the two of them, like work-wise and stuff. Now back to the point where people end up sending Belle tips. The whole story, I guess, plotline and whatnot of this book is the fact that one day she gets this tip from this man called Ian, who comes and lets her know something about the mayor of their city, and suddenly now she's gonna go on the biggest like assignment ever, which is taking down the mayor for all the shit he's pulled, because the stuff he's done is obviously not okay. But now, since he's such like a formidable opponent, considering the fact that he's literally the mayor, she needs to keep everything secretive, develop like a whole new identity and go into the assignment. Except one day as she's working the undercover job for that assignment, she ends up running into Connor, so the intern basically that she's butting heads with, out in the open. He ends up recognizing her, and suddenly she has to like pull him into the pretend as well, so that no one like catches on to the fact that, you know, she's trying to work into taking the mayor down. And suddenly, you know, the way she pulls him into the story is by saying he's like her true love and whatnot. They're together, whereas they cannot even stand each other. And so cue like a bunch of fake dating, all these other scenes wherein they're working together to take down the guy, and, you know, use his like circle and whatnot to believe that the two of them are actually in love, so that they can be more, I guess, integrated into the group, and so, you know, build some trust and then finally take him down and whatnot. Except as that's happening, we all know how romance books go, and, you know, as they're starting to fall for each other, trying to see if there can be a future beyond, there's like a bunch of other obstacles and hurdles that come in. And this one, frankly, I'm just gonna be so for real, it wasn't my cup of tea, because Belle, in my opinion, she was just so full of herself. She was such like a precocious person. At some point, I think Connor describes her in the book specifically as being stuck up with this like main character energy syndrome, and that's just the best way I can describe it, because the way she just behaves, I don't know how to explain it to you. I don't have like explicit examples, but if you read the book, just the underlying context of it, it made me hate her. I just could not stand behind it. Every time she opened her mouth, I wanted to die because I was so done with it. Genuinely, I was just so pissed off. She was so annoying, and I was just happy to be done. And then the romance also fell flat, because I genuinely just could not see the two of them starting to develop feelings for each other. At one point they hated each other, and then from there it suddenly goes into the point where they're like in love and whatnot, and it's really weird to me, the transition. But here we are anyway. Even the whole storyline with the mayor and stuff, I expected like a better undercover job, because that underwhelmed me. The only good part about this, I feel like that was handled well with enough drama that held my attention, was the fact that she had a stalker, which is not okay. Obviously, that's one of my biggest fears. But the way that was handled, that was kind of funny and sweet between the two of them, and those were like the only scenes I actually enjoyed reading about. The rest of it, I could not stand behind it. It wasn't for me, and so unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give this one 3 stars, because I expected it to be better, but it wasn't, and here we are anyway. A fun fact though is the fact that her name is Isabel, and that's why they call her Belle, short for Isabel. But in my head, every time they call her Belle and they called Connor Con, I'm thinking of Belly and Conrad. Not similar names, kind of, but for some reason that's where my mind was at. So all in all, to say, I was not interested about the book. Couldn't care less about the characters. It was just some sort of shitstorm happening every now and then that made me like pull out of it, which is why I was thinking about other characters rather than the two of these. And I feel like the way it was written to make them complex characters for obvious reasons, to like add nuance to the story, but the way it was brought about wasn't my favorite. I did not have a good time, and I'm just happy that it's done. So I don't know if I'll be reading more books by this author. If I see more recommendations in Haley's videos, maybe, I don't know. But for now, at least, I think I've had my break. I understood that maybe I don't like it, which is why here we are anyway. I'm done with it now, and now moving on to the next book, because I did start this yesterday night as well, because I didn't want to finish the current one and then have no update to give y'all, which is why I got halfway into this, put it down, started the other one, and got halfway into that, and then now I've picked up back again this evening. And now, since this is done, I'll get to the final one, and I don't know if you'll be reading any more books in this video. We'll have to really see, but I'm gonna lock in, see how that goes. Hopefully that one turns out better, because it's a really highly anticipated one for me, and so crossing my fingers, and I'll see you guys in a bit once I do have things to say, once I continue listening and working. But that's my plans for the evening. So far, I'm having a blast. I'm gonna be so for real, because I actually am having fun with the assignments and the books. Even though I'm not necessarily enjoying the storylines, listen, it's listening to books anyway. It's my favorite thing in the world, so better than doom scrolling. Probably gonna try to integrate this sort of work ethic minus the doom scrolling into my everyday life, because of just how much fun I'm having disconnected from my phone. Not that I'm not picking it up, it's just that it's very much in moderation, which is why I'm happy about it. This is definitely gonna continue and stick for the next, I don't even know how long, but hopefully it does. And until then, I'm just gonna go back to it, because I'm having a good time. And so see you guys once in a bit once I have like the next one done. But that's the update. So it's many hours later, it's much past my dinner time, so after this update I'm going and taking a well-deserved break because at this point my brain feels fried with words, but I have gone ahead and finished the next book. So after my update, basically all I want to do is take a break because honestly I think I've done a little bit of too much reading in the span of this one day and now I can't speak words anymore. But yeah, here we are anyway. I went ahead and started, or I guess continued with our next book. It's called The Anatomy of an Alibi. It's the new Ashley Elston. And for context, before anything, the other book that I've read by this author called First Lie Wins, looking back, that's like my number 2 thriller of all time. Like, it's literally my favorite. Haven't stopped thinking about it since I read it. My little sister got me a physical copy for my birthday last year, so I could like go back and reread it at some point and whatnot, just because of how much I rave about it. And so this has been such like an exciting book for me to get to. The only reason I didn't when it came out was because I was doing that other challenge and whatnot, and because my library hold of this did not come through. But now that it has, it's been a bit since it's out, so I do actually know that people have gotten to it. It was finally time for me to start it myself and figure out my own opinions on it, because listen, if she's written my number 2 thriller book of all time, who knows, maybe this could be another banger as well. And so I picked it up, and this one basically, we follow these 2 different women, their perspectives. We follow a bunch of other people as well, but primarily it revolves around these 2 who kind of are involved in some way or the other with this man called Ben, and he's the biggest liar ever, so they're trying to figure out his secrets. So the first woman, she's called Camille. She's married to him, so she's basically his wife, and he keeps her under like a very tight thumb, because on the outside it's like a picture perfect marriage, but on the inside he's like a lawyer who tracks her, and their wealth is like a problem for everything, and her family is kind of controlling him and whatnot, so there's like a bunch of secrets. But overall, she doesn't really believe him, and she's done with his shit and whatnot. So to kind of get out of her prenup, she's trying to find like dirt on him so she can use that to leverage her way out of the marriage and finally divorce him and leave him behind for good. But the thing is, because he tracks her, she doesn't really have any chance to go through his shit and whatnot and figure out some way or the other to start blackmailing him to get out of it, which is why that's number 1. The other woman is called Aubrey, and the thing is, when she was younger, so many years ago, her parents actually died in this like fatal car crash. It was like an accident, except looking back, she's not sure about it, because the person who was convicted, it looks like he might have been innocent after all. They got the wrong guy. And not just that, because Ben, the main guy, the liar, he's basically a lawyer. Aubrey knows that he's been sticking his nose around this case for quite some time now, and there's something off about him. She just cannot place her finger on it. So now these 2 women, they kind of come into contact, and they decide that they're going to swap lives just for like a day or so that Aubrey will be tracked instead of Camille. Ben will think he's tracking Camille, but it's actually Aubrey in her place getting tracked. And because, you know, the surveillance is off of Camille at that moment, she can go spy on Ben and get his secrets out to diverge between the 2 of them, and they can fulfill their means of kind of exposing him, but also like getting away from his shit and whatnot. Except this goes horribly wrong, because like about a day later, when they like get back to their own separate lives and whatnot, it's found out that Ben has been murdered. And both of them need an alibi at this point, because they were like swapping into each other's lives, and you're trying to figure out who did it and how it connects. And there's like a whole past backstory as well, including Aubrey's parents' case. And it's so insane to me, because all I'll say is, I've said it before, I'll say it again, the author is an absolute genius. I don't know how she comes up with these like plot lines. It's so incredible that the human brain can think of such things, because it connects in so many different ways. The last like ending twist, multiple twists, they had my jaw on the ground, because I did not see those coming. Genuinely shook the shit out of me, and so this was definitely worth the wait in terms of anticipation. My only complaint was that there were too many characters towards the beginning for me to actually establish a hold with, and it took me a little bit getting used to that, which is why the first like 30-ish% wasn't too enjoyable, because I was just trying to understand what's going on. But then after I started catching on to things, you know, it definitely flew by. I did not want to put it down, as you can probably tell. I finished it out, and I had such a good time overall. And so I don't know what I want to give it, maybe like 3.5, 4, but just because I finished exactly this moment, I'm not sure about my rating. It'll probably be 4 stars, because looking back, it was incredible, had the best time ever. And it's a very morally grey book in the terms of like legalities and stuff. So this is the kind of stories I enjoy, because it shows you like complexities of human nature, but the way it's handled and stuff. So that was really fun to me as well. But overall, if you're reading this, or if you've already read this, let me know if you got the twist, because to me that was insane. I'm still thinking about it. The way things tie up at the very end as well, author is a genius. So yeah, I think it's definitely a 4-star looking back. It was so much fun. It does not come close to First Live Wins. That one's just incredible in my opinion, but this was still really good, and I'm still really happy to have gotten to it because at least we found one good book in this video after all the like flops we've been having back and forth. But regardless, I'm done now. I'm happy I read it, and I had so much fun doing so because the way some secrets come to light, I don't know how to explain it to you. It's just like a feeling you'll probably understand if you read the book and whatnot, which you definitely should if you haven't already because it's so worth it. But yeah, I'm done with it now. Had the best time ever. One of the best thrillers honestly that I've gotten to so far. And now moving on, I will probably get to one more book in the span of this video, but that'll be a final book because I still have like a bunch of assignments to finish for college. It's just at the moment I'm a little bit too tired. So like I said, I'll be taking my break, but then after dinner I might start the book and then continue over the span of tomorrow. But because I'm a little busy with other things tomorrow, and then Sunday is going to be my editing day, also posting day for this video, I think that'll probably be our final book as well in this vlog. So I think I'm gonna go figure out what I want to get to, maybe something smaller in terms of length so I can still work on other things and then get everything balanced out. But yeah, here we are. I'm going on my much well needed break, and I'll see you guys in a bit now once I have like the final book done and whatnot. But it really depends, because if I don't have the time, then this is going to be the end of the vlog and I'll see you next for the outro. So we'll just see what happens, but basically that's the plan for right now. I'm gonna go have dinner and I'll see y'all hopefully in a bit with the next book, because I feel like we're going on a roll, and honestly putting my phone down is giving me a bunch of time anyway, so might as well use it productively into a book. And so we'll have to see what I do, but those are the plans, and I'll see y'all in a bit now, maybe directly tomorrow, because I can't talk anymore. I just want a break, which is why that's it. Bye. Okay guys, now fast forward a couple days because it's Sunday. It's also the same night that I'll be going back to edit this entire video. I'm done rough cutting. I just have to go finish like the final version and whatnot and post it, which is why I'm here for my outro, because as expected I did go ahead and finish one more book. This is what happens when you just put your phone down and disconnect for a bit, because you can literally get so much done, which is proof that's been evident for the past 1 week that we've spent together. But essentially I did go ahead and get one more book read, so I've come in to give you kind of like a quick summary and my thoughts on it before I give you an outro and then we reach the end of this video, because I do have to post it tonight, which is why here we are. The final book I did end up getting to in this video is called The Correspondent by Virginia Evans, and I've been seeing this literally everywhere on the internet for the past few months and whatnot, and it's really interesting, the premise of it. It's not like your classical book because it's written solely in the form of letters. So we have our main character Sybil. She is very much older and whatnot. She's in her 70s and she's lived like a full life. So she's someone's mother, she's someone's grandmother, she's like a social figure in her community. She also used to work as like a lawyer and whatnot back in the day, and she used to be a wife, and now she's a divorcee, and she's so many other things. But overall she's a human, and these days she kind of spends her mornings, especially every single day, writing letters. So the entire book is basically her communication in the form of letters to everyone she writes a letter to and everyone she receives a letter from. And she writes to basically everyone. So she writes to her family, she writes to her friends, she writes to one of her ex-co-workers, his son called Harry. Very random, but she does it anyway. Anytime she gets invited someplace or she wants to invite someone, anyone random somewhere, she writes to them. Sometimes she's writing to someone who's part of like customer service on this like website that she's got like a subscription of. And then sometimes she's writing to someone who's maybe part of her gardening community, or sometimes she's writing to like authors to express how good she found their books and whatnot. And so it's really interesting, but basically she'll write a letter to anyone and everyone under the moon. And the way it goes is that she's lived such a full life, obviously looking back, and these days she reflects through her letters. But one day she gets this like random out of nowhere sort of letter that kind of reflects back on this one mistake she made in the past that she still regrets, and it kind of correlates to this really painful moment in her life back in the day because something happened with her kids and whatnot, and I won't get into it. But now looking back, the only way she'll be able to move on with that thing, because she's never gotten over it and she's never obviously healed from that, because it's really deep and it's heavy and it's intense. But now, because she gets a letter that kind of correlates to the whole thing, and you don't know how it does until like the very end, she has to go back and open that Pandora box essentially of like painful feelings and sort through everything and kind of move on from the regret, but also learn how to forgive herself for everything. And it's really interesting the way it's done again, because you would not expect a bunch of letters to be able to establish such like a connect with the main character and whatnot. But the way it's done, I don't know how to explain it to you. In my head, Sybil is a real woman. For some reason in my head I pictured her as a combination of like Meryl Streep from The Devil Wears Prada, the principal lady from Wednesday, the show, show. And it's so funny because she's not described physically to be of that sort, but in my head she's like an old lady, basically, the way it's described and whatnot, and extremely sweet, unlike, you know, the characteristics of those characters and whatnot. But you kind of follow her in this like human sort of behavior, wherein, you know, you actually get to see her true self in these letters, because she's funny, she's unapologetic, she's basically everything encompassed. And I feel like the author did it in such a way that is so realistic, because you're not one specific thing at one specific point of time. You're a human, you can be so many, you know, different things all at once. And just the way it's done through these letters, I think was incredible. But also the whole storyline of like forgiveness and moving on and everything else that comes with it. I know it doesn't sound too appealing once you think about it, but once you actually pick the book up, please do, because it was so good. I had such a good time. Towards the end, I wish I was joking, I was like holding back tears, because I don't know when, but sometime along the way I got connected to the character, and I couldn't help it. I wanted to cry so bad for the kind of things that were going on in the book, because it was painful, but it hurt, and it was still important to read about because of the way it was done. And listen, the author, bravo, honestly, because she truly just made this like fictional character come to life in my head. This woman is real. I wish I could write her a letter. And now I will have a screenshot of my review on the screen and whatnot for the book, because this book genuinely made me want to disconnect, as we've been doing for the past week, to kind of just go live somewhere far, secluded away, and just write a bunch of letters and use that as my only form of communication. Because I wish I was joking, but this truly just reflects the whole point of this challenge, and it feels so like full circle coming to it at the very end of the video. But it genuinely shows you that you can live such a full life, and you can, you know, go through so much without being on your phone, but also the letters and whatnot. And looking back, genuinely now I want to start writing letters. I want to go to my grandparents and ask them, you know, if they've got remnants of when they were like younger and stuff, when they would write their own letters and photographs and stuff, because it's really interesting the way the connect has been established. And now obviously I want to go learn more about their lives, which I will. But yeah, I'm so happy I read this at the point that I did, because I had so much fun doing so. And I think I'm gonna give this like somewhere between 4 and 4.5 stars, because to me this was such an incredible book. I had so much fun, and I can't wait till the author writes something more so I can get to it, because the way it was done, I just cannot explain it to you. It's funny, but at the same time it cuts you, and I feel like the balance of emotions as well is done so incredibly that I had an amazing time overall. Also, I forgot to mention, but really quick, in my head this was such like a profound, like important book. It was so deep, it was so beautiful, and honestly I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years looking forward this becomes like a modern classic and whatnot, because it's that good. So this is your sign to read it as soon as you can before it becomes a classic, so you can be in the club wherein you can say that you read it before whole bandwagon caught on and it became like modern literature and stuff. That was really important and significant, because it really is, and it'll just make your day if you do. So here we are, happy I got to it, and now we've reached the end of this vlog. If you see me for the rest of the weeks kind of putting down my phone and getting to writing letters now, you will understand that that was the impact of this video on me, because so far, even though we've now reached the end of this video and whatnot, I still feel like this is something I'll be taking with me over the next few weeks, next few months, hopefully, who knows. But I really had fun this week, because it just shows you that even though I was able to get to like only one book just now towards the end of the video, I still managed to read 7 whole books over the span of the last week, just because I put my phone down and I focused on like other things and stuff. And genuinely the week has felt longer than any other week feels, because I was not absorbed on my screen, which is really good to me. I had so much fun, and I'm gonna count that as my own personal win. So here we are. I have now reached the end of this video. If you guys had a fun time coming along with me, like, comment, share, subscribe. YouTube things, you know how to do them. And if you will be deciding to disconnect from your phone for the next like week or so, and you get to reading some books of your TBR, or if you've already read some from this specific video, let me know in the comments, because it's always fun to like strike up a conversation. But here we are anyway. Now that we have reached the end of this video, I'll see you guys directly now next week for the next one. And so until then, take care, stay safe. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and now I'll see you directly next week. So until then, bye.